There are moments in human history when darkness seems so thick that people begin to wonder whether light still exists at all. It is not just a few isolated wars, nor is it simply a handful of nations falling into crisis. It is an age when the whole world seems to step at once into a massive storm. Values once considered sacred begin to turn upside down. What was once called righteous is mocked, while what is wrong is celebrated as a new standard. People slowly grow used to injustice, until many no longer even realize they are living in a time when the heart of humanity is growing cold. Imagine a world where faith becomes fragile. Those who try to hold on to what is right feel like strangers in the middle of the crowd. Everywhere, power rests in the hands of those who know nothing of justice. Oppression spreads like a disease with no cure, while cries for truth are drowned beneath the noise of ambition and self-interest. There are nights when people look up at the sky and ask, why has everything become so chaotic? But what makes that age most terrifying is not only war or natural disaster. The most terrifying thing is the reversal of morality. Things once considered forbidden begin to be accepted as normal. What was once taught as the right path is dismissed as outdated. A new generation grows up in confusion, where the line between right and wrong becomes more blurred with every passing year. When what is wrong is called right, and what is right is treated as wrong, that is when society has entered a dangerous turning point in history. During those years, even the earth itself seems to react to what is happening upon its surface. Earthquakes shake many regions. Violent storms begin to appear more and more often. Floodwaters sweep through cities once believed to be untouchable. Volcanoes erupt, and the sky grows dark on days when even the sunlight seems weak. At times, people feel as though the planet itself is breathing its final heavy breaths. Then, in that atmosphere of fear, wars begin to spread. They are no longer just small conflicts between nations. Entire regions become battlefields. Cities are destroyed, families are torn apart, and innocent people become victims of struggles for power. Stories of suffering spread everywhere, leading many to feel that the world is moving toward a period unlike anything seen before in history. Even sacred lands are no longer protected from chaos. And during one pilgrimage season, when millions gather in Mecca hoping to find peace in their hearts, a horrifying event takes place. A place that should have stood as a symbol of unity and faith suddenly becomes the witness to an attack that shocks the entire world. The blood of innocent pilgrims is spilled on holy ground, and news of that event spreads like a shockwave through the Muslim world. In that setting, many people begin asking a question that scholars mentioned centuries ago. Could humanity be moving closer to a special turning point in history? Could the signs spoken of by earlier generations now be appearing before our eyes? Some people say it is only a coincidence of history, but others remember words passed down from more than 1,400 years ago. Words about an age when injustice would spread, to us when the world would become chaotic, and when many hearts would long for a leader who would restore justice. If this is your first time watching this video, welcome to Prophetic History Explained, where we explore the deep stories of Islamic history and the prophecies that have made millions reflect for centuries. What you are about to hear is not just an ordinary historical story. It is a journey into mysterious, foretold signs about the future of humanity. Signs that have made scholars reflect across generations, and a figure who many believe will appear at the darkest moment of the world. So before we continue this mysterious story, take a moment to subscribe to Prophetic History Explained. Your support is the reason this channel can continue creating deeper and more meaningful videos in the future. Because what we are about to explore next does not speak only about history. It speaks about the signs that have led many to believe a great turning point for humanity is drawing near. And when those signs begin to appear, one name spoken of in narrations for centuries will begin to be mentioned more than ever. A name tied to the hope of hearts waiting for justice. A name many believe will emerge when the darkness of the world reaches its peak. As the upheavals of the world become harder and harder to explain, many people begin to realize that history seems to be entering an unusual phase. It is no longer only about political events or conflicts between nations. Strange signs begin to appear in ways that even the most scientific minds cannot easily explain. And in that setting, many remember that in the ancient traditions of Islam, there were sayings about special signs that would appear before an important figure stepped into the light. One of the signs that causes people to reflect most deeply is connected to the sky. Since ancient times, human beings have looked to the heavens in search of meaning behind major events. Astronomers can calculate the paths of planets and predict solar and lunar eclipses hundreds of years in advance. But there are moments in history when the phenomena in the sky seem to move beyond familiar patterns. In narrations repeated across generations, it is said that a time will come during the month of Ramadan when the moon and the sun will both undergo periods of eclipse within the same rare span of time. For many people, that is not simply an astronomical event. It is a sign that pushes human beings to think more deeply about what is happening in their world. The signs in the sky are not the only things that leave people unsettled. On the earth, unusual changes also begin to happen in places that history once recorded as peaceful lands. One of the stories mentioned most often concerns the strange change of a great river that sustained civilizations for thousands of years. The Euphrates, the river that once flowed through the ancient lands of the Middle East, has long been mentioned in narrations connected to the final period of history. According to those reports, a time will come when the flow of that river will change and expose a massive treasure hidden beneath the earth. News of that treasure is said to spread quickly across the world. People from many places will be drawn by greed and rush toward it, hoping to become wealthy in a single moment. But instead of bringing prosperity, that treasure will become the cause of a bloody struggle. Ancient narrations warned that the conflict over that gold would become so fierce that out of hundreds who rush into that battle, only a very small number would survive. That story is not only about a treasure, it reflects a deeper truth about human nature when confronted with the temptation of power and wealth. During that same time, many strange phenomena are also said to appear in the sky. There will be nights when unusual lights appear, making people unable to look away from the heavens. There will be moments when the sky seems to glow as though it is burning, leading many to believe the world is approaching a major turning point. Some explain those phenomena through scientific theories, while others see in them the signs spoken of by earlier generations. But perhaps what unsettles people most is not astronomical phenomena or changes in nature. What makes many tremble is the narration of a call that will be heard across the world. According to traditions repeated for centuries, there will come a time when a declaration will resound from the sky, announcing that a man guided by Allah has appeared. That call is said to be heard everywhere, from east to west, causing those who are asleep to awaken and those who are sitting to rise. But the trial of that age will not lie only in hearing that call. At the same time, another call will rise from the earth, carrying confusion and division. Many people will not know what to believe, because those two calls will seem to stand against one another. In the explanations of scholars, the call from the sky is understood to be the voice of an angel, while the call from the earth is the deception of Shaitan, meant to throw human hearts into turmoil. It is in that confusion that the real test of faith begins. because not every sign appears so clearly that all people are forced to believe. If everything were obvious, faith would no longer be a choice. The signs of that age, therefore, are said to be clear enough to make the faithful reflect, yet hidden enough for others to continue doubting. That is the nature of the signs mentioned in the ancient narrations. They are not only strange events in nature, they are reminders that human history is not merely a chain of random events. And for many believers, like when those signs begin to appear, they signal that the world is moving closer to a moment spoken of by earlier generations. A moment when a guided man will emerge and change the course of history. In the middle of a world searching for hope, narrations from more than 14 centuries ago spoke of a man whose coming would be tied to the restoration of justice. He would not be a king born in a palace, nor a conqueror stepping out from mighty armies. Those narrations say he would appear as an ordinary man, living among humanity, carrying within himself a mission that even he would not fully realize until the appointed time arrived. That man is called the Mahdi, which means the one guided by Allah. This name is not only a title, it is a description of his very nature. Nay, he is the one guided to the right path at a moment when the world seems to have lost its direction. According to narrations passed down by scholars and preserved in early hadith collections, the Mahdi will bear the name Muhammad, son of Abdullah, the same as the final prophet of Islam. That resemblance is not seen as accidental. It is regarded as a sign that his mission is tied to bringing humanity back to the path the Prophet Muhammad once showed. The lineage of the Mahdi is also mentioned with special honor. He is said to descend from Fatima, the beloved daughter of the Prophet. That makes him part of al-Bayt, the sacred household of the Prophet Muhammad. In many narrations, the bloodline of the Prophet's two famous grandsons, Hassan and Hussein, is described as two blessed branches in Islamic history. The Mahdi is said to appear at the meeting point of those two blessed lines, as though the history of the Prophet's family converges in one man at the very time the world needs him most. Yet what is striking is that the Mahdi is not described as someone publicly known by this title from childhood. On the contrary, many narrations suggest that in the early years of his life, he will live as an ordinary human being. He may work, live within the community, and experience hardships like anyone else. Only when the appointed time comes near will Allah prepare him for his mission. There is a famous statement in the traditions that Allah will set the Mahdi right in a single night. This does not mean that knowledge suddenly appears from nothing, but that in that moment Allah opens for him the understanding and spiritual strength needed to carry the immense task waiting ahead. Descriptions of the Mahdi do not stop with his lineage and mission. Hadith literature also mentions several details about his appearance as signs by which the knowledgeable may recognize him. He is described as having a broad and radiant forehead and a face that reflects calmness. His eyes are deep and clear, giving those who look at him a sense of seriousness mixed with mercy. His nose is said to be slender and slightly curved, and his beard thick and well kept. On his right cheek is a small mole, a detail repeated in many narrations as a special sign. Even so, those who understand the Islamic traditions deeply often emphasize that the Mahdi will not be recognized by appearance alone. What truly sets him apart is his inner character. He is described as someone with remarkable composure, even in moments when the world around him is collapsing into chaos. He possesses deep knowledge of what is halal and what is haram, and he understands clearly what Allah has permitted and what He has forbidden. That is why many people turn to him for guidance, while he himself remains dependent on no one but Allah. The Mahdi is also said to be a man of profound fear of Allah. His heart trembles at the thought of the responsibility he must carry. In some narrations, his fear of Allah is compared to the wings of an eagle trembling before a strong wind. It is an image meant to show that the strength of the Mahdi does not come from power or personal ambition. It comes from humility and deep reverence for the Creator. And the mission of the Mahdi is not to establish a new religion or bring a different path. On the contrary, his task is to return humanity to what once existed. In his age, many practices of the Sunnah will have been forgotten, and many innovations will have been added into religion. The Mahdi will strive to restore the practices that were once lived during the time of the Prophet Muhammad, so that Islam may once again shine with its original purity. He will rise against oppression and injustice, not with cruelty, but with justice and steadfastness. Narrations say he will mend hearts wounded by years of division and wrongdoing. In a world that has grown used to chaos, the coming of the Mahdi is likened to gentle rain falling on dry land, bringing new life to hopes that seemed long dead. But that very mission is what makes the path of the Mahdi so difficult. Because anyone who rises against oppression will face resistance from those who have grown comfortable in their power. And as the story continues, history will enter a stage in which the trials facing the Mahdi and those who follow him become harsher than ever before. When the time spoken of by generations finally begins to draw near, the events that follow quickly push the world into a phase unlike anything before in history. After many years of living as an ordinary man, the Mahdi gradually begins to be recognized by those with knowledge. News about him spreads from one person to another, not through grand declarations, but through stories of his righteousness, wisdom, and fear of Allah. In an age when many have lost faith in true leadership, his presence begins to kindle hope. But at that very moment, major upheavals also begin to unfold. When the Mahdi arrives in Mecca, a group of people who believe in his integrity come and pledge allegiance to him near the Kaaba. They are not people seeking power or personal gain. They are people who have witnessed the corruption of their age and believe that Allah has sent a man to restore justice. Yet, as soon as they openly pledge allegiance to the Mahdi, other forces become afraid. Those who are used to ruling through oppression and injustice cannot accept the rise of a leader who might overturn the order they have built. So a great army is sent to destroy the Mahdi before he can establish his position. That army marches toward Mecca, confident that it will crush any resistance with ease. The soldiers in that force believe they are protecting the power of those ruling the world. But as they move through the desert on the road to Mecca, an event takes place that leaves the entire world astonished. According to narrations repeated for centuries, the earth beneath that army suddenly opens and swallows the whole force. No trace of that massive army remains. That event is seen as a sign that Allah is protecting the one He has chosen for a special mission. After that event, news of the Mahdi spreads rapidly. From the east, armies carrying black flags begin to appear. Those soldiers are said to come from the region of Khurasan, and they see supporting the Mahdi as a sacred duty. They do not come merely to take part in an ordinary war, and they come with the belief that they are contributing to an important stage in the history of the Ummah. Their arrival strengthens the position of the Mahdi, and many people begin to see in those events the beginning of a new age. But at the same time, an even greater trial is preparing to emerge. In the ancient Islamic narrations, humanity was warned about a figure whose appearance would become the greatest test of human faith. That figure is called the Dajjal. He is not only a cruel ruler, but a deceiver with the power to make many believe that he possesses divine authority. The stories about him say that he will make falsehood appear to be truth and draw many people into his deception. When the Dajjal appears, many people will be swept away by his power. He will move across the lands, causing those with weak faith to doubt what they once believed. In an age when people have become used to chasing power and self-interest, his deception will lead millions to believe he is the savior they have been searching for. Great armies will gather under his leadership, and the world will once again fall into chaos. During that period, the Mahdi and those who follow him will face their greatest trial. The confrontation between those two forces is not merely a war between armies. It is a struggle between truth and deception, between faith and doubt. When the Dajjal and his forces advance toward Jerusalem, the Mahdi and those who believe in Allah will seek refuge in that sacred land. The siege drags on until many feel exhausted and their trial becomes harsher than ever. But just when hope seems to be fading, another event takes place that changes the direction of history. According to narrations repeated through generations, Isa, the son of Maryam, will descend from the heavens. That event takes place near Damascus, where he appears with light and peace. When the news of the descent of Isa begins to spread, the believers start to feel that the deliverance they have been waiting for has finally come. Isa will come to Jerusalem and meet the Mahdi and his followers. When the time for prayer arrives, the Mahdi will prepare to lead the believers in prayer. But when Isa appears, the Mahdi will step back to offer him the place. Isa will place his hand on the Mahdi's shoulder and say that the call to prayer was made for the Mahdi, and that he should continue to lead. That act is understood as a clear sign that Isa does not come with a new mission, but to continue along the path of the Prophet Muhammad. After that prayer, the door of their refuge will be opened, and the final confrontation will begin. When the Dajjal sees Isa, he will try to flee, because he will know that his end has come. Isa will pursue him until he catches him near the gate of Lod, where he will be destroyed. That event marks the end of one of the greatest trials humanity has ever faced. And when the Dajjal is defeated, a new chapter in the history of the world will begin. After the violent events of that age begin to settle, a profound question starts to rise in the minds of many people. What did everything humanity just witnessed really mean? Were all those events merely dramatic chapters in history? Or did they carry a deeper message for every person living in this world? And in many narrations passed down by Islamic scholars, one point is emphasized very clearly. Not everyone will recognize the figures and events of that age immediately. In fact, most people will only understand what was happening after it has already passed. This comes from an important principle in Islamic belief. Life in this world is a test. If every sign were as obvious as the sun at midday, then human beings would no longer have to choose between belief and disbelief. And once that choice disappears, the meaning of the test disappears with it. That is why many events of the final age are described as signs both open and hidden at the same time. Those with deep faith, those who are accustomed to living with the Quran and the Sunnah, will see in those signs a connection to the narrations passed down over centuries. But for others, those same events may appear to be no more than historical upheavals like any other. That is also why scholars have always reminded people that simply sitting and waiting for a savior is not what Islam encourages. Throughout history, there have been times when many people spent too much of their energy arguing about who the Mahdi is, when he will appear, and where he will appear. But while those debates continued, many of them forgot their own responsibilities. They forgot that faith does not exist only in stories about the future. It must be shown in the daily actions of life. Some scholars have said that if a person only sits and waits for the Mahdi without fulfilling basic obligations, that person is losing the true meaning of faith. Because the best preparation for any age is not trying to predict events. It is living according to what Allah has already taught. A person who guards prayer, lives honestly, helps the weak, and tries to improve the self each day is in fact preparing for whatever trial may come in the future. In the stories told about the age of the Mahdi, one thing is always mentioned. The people who truly recognize him are not those who are merely curious about the signs. They are the ones who have spent their lives serving their religion. They understand the Quran, they are used to living by the Sunnah, and they constantly strive to keep their hearts attached to Allah. Those are the people who, when the signs appear, will understand what they mean. This also explains why many scholars throughout history warned that arguing too much about the identity of the Mahdi can distract people from a more important duty. And instead of asking only when the Mahdi will come, a more important question should be asked. If that time were to come, would we have enough faith and preparation to stand on the side of truth? There is a famous story told about a great scholar. When someone came to him and said that he should not worry because the Mahdi would come and fix everything, the scholar replied with a simple but powerful statement. When the Mahdi comes, let him find you already doing your duty. That statement became a deep reminder for many generations after him. Because in Islam, every person has a role in life. No one is born merely to wait for someone else to change the world. Every small action, every right decision, every time a person stands against injustice becomes part of a larger journey that Allah has laid out for humanity. It is when people look back at the whole story of the signs, of the Mahdi, and of the trials of the final age, they begin to realize that the purpose of those narrations is not to make human beings live in fear or endless curiosity. Their purpose is to remind people that human history is always moving toward a day when every deed will be weighed and every choice will matter. So the deepest lesson from those stories is not found in trying to determine exactly when those events will happen. The lesson lies in each person asking how they are living right now. Are we living according to the values taught by the Quran and the Sunnah? Are we helping bring justice and mercy into the world around us? If every person begins with the self, then no matter in which age the Mahdi appears, that the world will still have many hearts ready to stand on the side of truth. And that is exactly what the narrations from centuries ago were trying to remind humanity of. The deepest lesson in this story is this: faith is not an abstract idea that exists only in books or in stories. Faith must be shown through action. It appears in the way we treat other people, in honesty at work, in mercy toward the weak, and in steadfastness toward what is right, even when the world around us is moving in a different direction. When a person holds firmly to those values, that person is preparing for any trial the age may bring. If each one of us begins with the self, then no matter what age we live in, we can still become part of positive change. And that is the message many scholars have emphasized throughout history. Do not only ask when the Mahdi will appear. Ask whether you yourself are ready to stand on the side of truth. If you are interested in deep stories about Islamic history, prophecies, lessons of faith, and the signs mentioned in the Quran and hadith, join the Prophetic History Explained community so we can continue exploring more useful knowledge and deeper insights into the stories that have influenced millions of people around the world. And if you want to keep following meaningful content like this, do not forget to subscribe to Prophetic History Explained. Your support is the motivation that helps the channel continue creating quality videos and bringing more valuable stories in the videos ahead.